This is Terry Cavanagh. Terry has created many hit games, such as this one, and this one. This is a collection of Terry's other games, a historical archive. Let's take a look at exactly what's all in this package. Our journey begins with Don't Look Back, a 2009 Flash game made in a minimalist perspective, much like many of the other games in this collection. Don't Look Back is a game about loss, a game about being one with nature, a game about exploring the unknown, a game about dying to the same snake over and over until you slowly go insane, a game about shooting bats and spiders with firearms, a game about narrowly avoiding electricity like I'm a Ninja Turtle defusing a bomb, a game about entering hell itself and fighting whatever these weird demons are. I don't know. A game about never looking back. A game about always moving forward. A game about the cycle of life. Don't Look Back is a great introduction to Terry's other games because you immediately see the roots of all of his future games. A short but sweet experience. Why not follow up Don't Look Back by literally looking back to a 2002 release made in QBasic? The Hunt is the story of Malcolm Rhodes. Malcolm Rhodes is not a criminal, but is framed for a crime and therefore becomes a criminal by stealing the judge's car and running for the border. A non-criminal criminal. The hunt is on. In some circles, I'm known as an expert gamer, so naturally I turned the game to veteran right off the bat. Booting into the game, I learned very quickly what I was in for. Immediately being rammed by a squad car. Okay, normal it is. I am granted a health bar now, which helps me to proceed further and further into the game. I still hit every cop and every businessman on his way to work. I never do make it to the border. Malcolm Rhodes, I have failed you, and for this, I am truly sorry. Jumping a decade into the future from The Hunt, I entered the world of At a Distance, an experimental game created for NYU's No Quarter exhibition back in 2011, and updated for inclusion in this collection. Originally designed to be a networked game between two people, this version has been modified to allow for two players to play on the same screen simultaneously. Playing the role of a perpetually alone YouTuber, I went against all recommendation and tried to play by myself, switching between perspectives. First impressions, I felt like I was instantly reminded visually of Antichamber, which oddly enough is a game released years after this one, so that kind of messed with my mind a little bit. On a gameplay level, it took me a while to figure out exactly what was going on here. The first 10 minutes I spent walking in infinite loops before I even realized that the map needed to be constructed. Shortly thereafter, I found myself getting lost in perspectives as I crafted a map and picked up different colored keys from different colored rooms. The small color palette and solid colored walls frequently had me lost on what direction I was looking, and I didn't necessarily have the greatest experience playing it. I appreciate the risks that this one takes, and I would love to have tried it out in its original form. In the end, though, not really for me, but I think it's still worth a look. Next up is Etnik Footnik? Footnik? Or as it's referred to elsewhere, a four-letter word. An unfinished prototype from 2011. Must have been a busy year for Terry. This one had me feeling like I'd entered a cursed Atari cartridge, playing a game where I collect even more Atari cartridges. After a short trip to gamer jail, an improvised music jam session, I drew many triangles until I eventually found myself inside a first-person shooter at war with flashing enemies and collecting mysterious items. I mowed down a bunch of enemies with what I can only assume was a chain gun of sorts, eventually succumbing to the enemy. Knocknit indeed. A very interesting collection of ideas that I will return to at some point, just to see what else is hiding in there. From here, I jumped back to the top row of releases and played through the game Naya's Quest, a Cuber-inspired 8-bit isometric game that plays with perspective. From a gameplay standpoint, this demo has a ton of issues. It's brutally difficult if you focus on the visuals too much and can be downright a chore to play. Failing screens, in most cases, kicks you back to the previous level, forcing you to replay puzzles, sometimes challenging ones. While I have a lot of problems with the controls of this game, from a design standpoint, this game is not afraid to try out different concepts. You have a secondary scan feature, which allows you to see how the world is actually laid out and helps you puzzle out what can and cannot be stepped on. Relying on this feature made the game much more manageable and allowed me to progress in the game. The further I got, the more off the rails things became. Naya's quest plays around with all sorts of concepts and control schemes, and eventually hits a point where every room has a new approach. I won't spoil them all here, but this one's worth playing until the end if you're a design junkie like me. The next game I tried out was Fountain, a Ludum Dare game jam entry about aging. I'm no stranger to Ludum Dare games, having participated in a few of them myself, but never made anything this creative over the course of a weekend. I took the role of an unnamed protagonist, drinking from what I can only assume was the Fountain of Youth. Using the player's newfound youth, an uncharted world existed where I had to find and collect as many items as possible. Every step seemed to age me, eventually leading to my death. A very simplified concept, and not much to this game, but an interestingly crafted world and the excitement of wandering through a darkened map to explore and find new things. Not the kind of game I could see myself returning to over and over, but exactly what a game jam should be. Trying out an interesting mechanic and seeing what works. A few games in this collection hit me with immediate memories that I'd somehow had forgotten I previously played. Tiny Heist is one of those games. An addictive game of exploring what I can only imagine are procedurally generated floors. I was tasked with collecting power-ups, keys, and gems, while avoiding patrolling guards, cameras, and sleeping attack dogs. Tiny Heist remains a very fun, puzzle-solving stealth game. By having each floor be new on every playthrough, the replayability here is practically infinite. I'm pretty terrible at this one, and never made it through all 15 floors, but I can see myself learning it enough to get there over time. One of the highlights of this collection, and a must-play. Simple as that. Before Terry's other games, I had never heard of Grab Them by the Eyes, a sign-building deck builder about outperforming your neighbors. I took turns buying sign upgrades with my rival, Filthy Burger, in order to pull in more customers at my startup food cart. I started by making bland statements, telling my potential clients to not eat elsewhere. When this was failing to garner the attention I rightfully deserved, I began investing in flashy borders and telling people to give in to their happy memories. By day 3, I began writing my own custom signs and constructing a smear campaign against Filthy Burger. I was rewarded for playing dirty. The following Friday, I shifted my strategy and started playing to a different crowd. I let people know that meat is murder and informed the world that my food cart had vegan options available. I was continually rewarded for the risks I took. As the week moved on, I continued to attack Filthy Burger, letting everyone know how much they smelled, and that their name was literal. I had done it. I'd become a successful businessman, and no one can take that away from me. A fantastic little game that let me spread out my creativity. Not a whole lot of difficulty, but a whole lot of fun. What appears to be the most recent entry in the compilation, Mr. Platformer struck me as a game that was made under constraints. The intro screen states that Terry made this game level by level while recovering from COVID, and listing that each screen is created with a limited 10 by 6 tiles. Much like the majority of Terry's other games, the minimalist graphics gave this game a classic Atari feel. It's hard when swinging on a vine over a large chasm to not compare this to a game like Pitfall. Playing through a number of levels, I found most of the stages to be wildly varied in terms of difficulty. Most levels appear to have a simple path to the goal, but along the way I was tempted by side paths leading to diamonds that increased my score. I still haven't found the clock tower, but that is, in most instances, due to enormous amounts of greed on my part. Spending my lives on impatient jumps and trying to collect every last item in a level. Don't worry, Mr. Platformer, I will return to ring that final bell. There's only one thing left on the list, and it's Terry's Trainwrecks, which just so happens to be a collection inside of a collection. Such value! Let's rapid fire through these games. Harmonilure is Terry's take on Towler, which I had never heard of until this very moment. I did not figure out what to do in this game. You're probably smarter than me though. You figure it out. What you're about to see is my only footage of Airplane Adventures, which funny enough, at the time of recording this video, which was before the official release, there was no way to reset the game. I'm not sure if this is a glitch or just a comedic concept for the game, but I think it made it an even more memorable experience for me. Bullet Time is an addictive bullet hell game where you must avoid getting shot while upgrading your weapons. You're given a small amount of bullet time to slow down the world. Very creative and fun. At this point, I returned to Airplane Adventures just to make sure I wasn't going crazy, and I was still crashed. Had a second laugh. In Copycat, I only got the basic understanding of, but it seems like you get different powers and must avoid the enemies while destroying them strategically. I appeared to get a random power or starting class each time I started a round. Interesting concept that I'll need to spend more time with to avoid dying quickly. In Let's Play a Board Game, I got to play a board game with Terry himself. It was really fun. We had a great time. See you again soon, Terry. I'll just show you a little murmured swashum footage. Maybe you can figure out what the heck's going on here. Mumurtix swashum. Kinda fun to say. I'm not here to spoil Hero's Adventure, but this one got a genuine laugh out of me. Do recommend. A proper cup of tea taught me that there's no wrong way to make a cup of tea, even if the cup of tea is just a cup of milk. To this day, I shall now and forevermore consider myself a tea master. Bullfist is a 2009 jam game about gathering some of your best bull friends to destroy capitalism in 1 minute. A smashing good time. Next up is Radio Silence, a game where you listen for radio feedback and interference in order to get some peace and quiet in an untextured world. Simple concept and what most early Unity projects tend to look like in my experience. Maybe Airplane Adventures 2 will redeem itself. Oh no, I crashed yet again. My moment has passed. I laugh yet again. Let's just check back in on Airplane Adventures 1 real quick. That's what I figured. Finally, we end this collection out strong with Maverick Bird. I love Maverick Bird. It's a Flappy Bird fan game, except even better because you can flap and dive. It's one of those games that melts the brain and keeps you coming back for more. Just one more run. I want to live in Maverick Bird. I want to become the Maverick Bird. This game might be filed in the Trainwrecks collection, but personally, Maverick Bird is one of my all-time favorite Terry Cavanagh games. I remember playing it when it came out, and now I get to relive it all over again. For the achievement hunters out there, many games in this set have goals you can hit if you're looking for replayability. Reminds me of UFO 50 a bit, with the different levels of goals, some harder than others. Stars and hearts, oh my. And that, my friends, is Terry's other games. Is it a collection of games? Yes. But more so, it's a historical look at the creative process of one game designer. I love compilations like this. Seeing the progression of ideas throughout the years is fascinating to me, and ultimately I've come out of this video feeling inspiration. It made me want to create experiences again. Not every idea is a hit, but most creative ideas are usually worth exploring, and this collection really embodies it. From the successes to the experiments, there's probably something for everyone hidden in this collection. All I know is playing through this just made me want to make my own experiment. Seems like a good enough reason to recommend this game for me. Thanks to Terry Cavanagh for providing me a key for this game, which allowed me to make an edited video for the time of release. There's a link in the description to the Steam page if you want to pick up this collection for yourself. Thanks for watching the video. Let me know in the comments what your favorite game was in this collection. Subscribe if you'd like to see more like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one.